here on your Monday, November 17th. Hope you guys are doing well out there. And I'm only going to come in just for a few minutes because I just had a couple of thoughts. I will give you just a little bit of an idea on what I think of the current status of the news cycle. Um, but it looks like the FAA is going to lift the mandates on cutting the flights at the 40 major airports. Um, I think that was something that actually came out yesterday evening. So there again, you kind of have your crisis containment and the system here again, the system has been restored because you guys understand when I talk to you guys, I've been talking to you guys for the longest about fear is what typically drives a shutdown. And then in that shutdown, you're dealing with what's the shutdown? They say, of course, it's not, they won't say it's the common man that's getting shut down or the stakes are being raised for the common man, but it's actually the systems the systems shut down or break down, and it's driven by fear. Okay, which to me also shutdown could also be, if I'm in a wordsmith here, I could say that shutdown could also be equivalent to offline. So apparently everything is going back online, and the FAA is lifting the mandates on the cut for the commercial airlines, the operations, the actual airspace. The airspace operations are going to be restored, as well as general aviation restrictions have been lifted. Okay, so things are back online. So I'm almost thinking maybe I want to shift my language to saying, instead of using shutdown, I want to use the word online, that we're back online. Okay, and so but I do think that your narratives, that your plot's going to shift back to emails and global conflicts. I think even the idea of tariffs being lifted on certain things. There again, the common man is the one that's going to going to absorb the common man is always going to get the stakes raised in many of these issues. But so we've got an FAA lifting mandates for cutting the flights for the 40 major airports, and then you have. I do think that there's been a descendants on, I'm not sure where in North Carolina, in which there was, I don't want to say the word because I think that that's what they ended up tagging me for yesterday. They ended up tagging me because I used the IA, which self-censoring again, you know, there was major arrest in North Carolina this weekend. And so we'll see what that looks like. Good morning, Latressa Montgomery. Thank you so much for coming in, and thank you guys for loving on the like button. Um, so yeah, so you've got we're now that we're back online, you will see the online trajectory. The shutdown is lifted, and or I'm gonna say we're back online now, and the FAA is lifting those restrictions on the airspace, including the space programs, space uh, missions, as well as, of course, just general aviation, and of course in the commercial airline industry. And then so there's something going on with immigration as well. Something occurred over the weekend in North Carolina where there were tons of arrests, and so that's a whole nother narrative. But like I said, I think they're going to pivot to these emails. Good morning to you, Marcy T. Thank you guys so much for coming in, loving on that like button. It is yesterday was interesting here on the YouTube streets. Shout out to Derek C. Williams for coining this place their tube, because it truly is their tube. Okay. So I want to say this before I close out. So we'll have a look at what's going on with the FAA. If Sean Duffy, I mean, we talked about yesterday about Kristi Noem. We talked about her, the Secretary of Homeland Security, rewarding TSA agents who went above and beyond. And so, but I'm just saying at the same time, there were all kinds of, at least that they made it appear, the media made it appear that there were swipes at ATC. air traffic controllers for calling out or not coming into work. So we'll see what that's all about. We'll see what that's all about. But just a couple of thoughts that I had. What it just seems like always, just about even in literature, you always have a level of the common man. It's almost like the elites, the powers that be, that run the zoom in. um, they count on the common man either turning on themselves, turning on each other. um, they kind of count on the common man not really working together to get through difficult times or challenging times, or not creating their own solutions, or not, they count on that. um, they also count on people being misinformed, or um, they count on all of that. And that, to me, a lot of what they're able to do is based on that. And I've talked about that before, like the participatory obedience. Historically, there's plenty of evidence that that exists. um, you can go back sometime in history. But what I'm saying is like, even whether you're talking about something that's dystopian in material and literature, it's either through the common man's stomach they're able to achieve a lot, or they're able to see what the common man's going to do, what is he going to do to survive, or what is he actually going to do when the stakes are raised. But I think, unfortunately, I think that we have kind of got the common man has kind of gone backwards, because we don't use what we have. We don't use all of our resources. Um, and I'm saying even before technological advances, it is, if you withhold food from anybody, I mean, there's ways, prior to technology and to SNAP benefits, people were able to, you know, they were able to come up with solutions, or there was more self-reliance. And I think because we're less self-reliant, we're not going to get as much we're not going to get as much we're not going to use our resources. So we're more likely to turn on each other, turn on ourselves. And I think they count on that. So I'm thinking, I don't know, we're on the heels of it. We're almost to the beginning of a new year. Good morning to everybody. Marcy T. Realize. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for loving on that like button. You guys know, yesterday, I think whatever I'm, they might say it's technical difficulties, but when you say certain things, it's still going on. So to say that they've lifted some type of censorship, that's BS. That's just another illusion that one faction does something to, benefit free speech. There is no free speech. Okay. I submit there is no free speech. Okay. Marcy T says that SNAP is pans. There is no free speech, because like I said yesterday or the day before, even if you go on these other platforms, if you go on to Substack, you need to pay, or the people need to pay, or the content creator themselves needs to pay a subscription for. Yes, and see, there again, if you don't have a small channel like mine, I mean, apparently, I guess they treat me as if I'm a mega threat, but yet the people that have the backing of the government narratives and trajectories, they're the ones that are allowed to say whatever they want. They don't have, you know, that they don't have the same type. There must be two different types of free speech. Okay. There's free speech for them, and then there's free speech for us. So I'm just saying, and I'm not trying to get on about that right now, because there's about 100 things I'd rather talk about than the censorship of YouTube, but it does exist, and it's not going away. I'm just saying that, I was never under any illusion that it was completely, you know, you know, resolved, or that there was any, provision for that, or that there was any real consequence. Because to me, YouTube, because everybody there again, this is a situation. If you redress these people about your issues on YouTube, they're going to basically blame AI, or they're going to blame the system. Oh, well, this is owned by blah, 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 blah. You see how all of a sudden, all of you know, the structure is in place for you really don't have, the more AI that's injected, or the more companies that have that there's some entity that they don't control, the more they're going to be able to deflect, delay, deny, deflect what your point. Let's keep going here. Let's back it up here just a second. So I'm going to get out of here, as I don't want to come in too long, but make sure you guys, I appreciate you guys loving on the like button. So let's see. Marcy T says, so did the Nephilim in the Bible from Genesis 6. Yes, Marcy T. She says, remember, the solution to pollution is dilution. She says, Baal is their role model for corporations 3-headed demon. Love to you guys both. Also, she says, they lifted it enough for us to take enough rope to what ourselves. Absolutely. She says, Pan is the demon said to be Satan. Yeah, that's